The sun was up, shining like it had just been given a brand new polish, and all the creepy crawlies from the night before decided to get the hell out. Ian was already chatting with a young teacher, armed to the teeth with makeup. He was imagining the third prince in every possible way, preparing for his big chat with the count. When he finished, the old man said, "Wow, Riley looks like he just left the playground." Even though he's still a teenager, Riley had his hair combed to the side and his clothes neatly pressed. When Ian opened up, Riley said, "Wait a minute, do I really look 10 years old?" Ian just ignored it, blathered on about how this could be Riley's big break. Now that Lady Aguila was out of the picture, the prince could finally have a serious talk with the old man about the family fortune. He was over the moon about it. The old man thought it was some kind of cosmic moment. Riley didn't seem very excited about the old man's music. He just mumbled something about getting out. Ian tagged along, still going on and on about how Riley just didn't get it. The Highness called him to see the prince's insane skills, right? The old man cracked a joke about how he always said Riley was the real MVP among the brothers. The third prince knocked on the red door and announced himself. His father invited him in, but before he entered, Ian grabbed him, pumped his fists and wished him luck. Riley turned to his father, who responded back. The Earl told Riley to pack his bags, no explanation necessary. Riley said, what? But his father handed him an invitation card. The prince was still scratching his head, so he asked where he should go. Snatching the paper from his old man's hands, Riley read that it was an invitation to the royal duel. It was the 17th, apparently, and it would take place a month from now, bringing together all the sword beasts around the world. But here's the thing. It said it was specifically for him. Riley, just for him. But couldn't his dad just say, "Hey, my third son is joining the party"? Riley thought the whole get ready thing was a bit much. He asked why he should go, but his father just gave him that look. You know why? From experience, as his brothers had been there, done that. The third prince said, "Yes, they said it was amazing," but the Count of Ipleta said, "No, son, this invitation is all about you." Then he made this heart gesture with his hands, and Riley got the message loud and clear. The third prince ignored it and said he wouldn't go. He thought about just closing his eyes and letting the tears flow, like he did in the first chapter. He kept repeating that he wouldn't go. No way. He had no skills, man. His father rubbed his tired eyes and told him to stop. He also warned him not to push his luck. So, his son was doing everything he could to convince the old man to give up. He even mentioned the time he accidentally scared his mother half to death with a wooden sword. Yan, who had been listening like a professional on the other side of the door, started to turn paler than a ghost. But in the end, Riley simply cut him off, knowing it was a lost cause. He begged him not to force him to pick up a sword. But then, the father entered with all his benevolent air, with a pep talk trying to convince Riley. But man, those words just brought back a whirlwind of memories for Riley. "You can do it, soldier," echoed in his head, and suddenly everything was bathed in a cherry red of blood. "You can do it, soldier." The words kept pounding in his mind, like a broken record. Riley stood there frozen for a second, then finally exploded, telling his father to stop with this soldier business. He was freaking out that his father was looking at him like he was about to send him into battle. He said it loud and clear. He wasn't going to do it. But then Finn rose from his chair and laid down the law. The Count said, "Sorry, boy, but you have to do this." He said Riley was no longer a child and had responsibilities. He dropped the bombshell that Riley had no choice but to participate in the tournament and defend the family's honor. Riley was practically shaking in her boots. He couldn't understand why he should suddenly be the family hero. He almost stumbled out the door, and there was Taro Ian, catching him in the act. When Ian realized he had been caught, he started making excuses, as if he was just tidying up the place. But before Ian could say anything else, Riley ran away. Finn ordered Ian to chase him, but Ian was lost. The Earl had to shout his orders again before Ian got the message. Meanwhile, Riley was hiding in her mother's closet, trying to make sense of everything. He couldn't understand why everyone in the family, even the maids, were obsessed with swords. It was like a punch in the gut. He was the son of a sword master. It made sense that the father would want to pass on the skills, but why did everyone on the estate have to be a sword maniac? And just when Riley thought he had things figured out, he overheard a conversation between his mother and a maid. They were talking about how worried they were that Riley wouldn't take on the responsibility of being the heir. But Mom said, "No, we'll be fine." Then she tells me that Riley does those puppy dog eyes, all sad and stuff. She says, "What's wrong, honey?" But Riley, quick as a fox, puts on a poker face and says, "No, Mom, it's cool. Don't worry about it." Lady Iris opens the game, saying that the prince has changed a lot. But the mother declares, "I may not understand him, but hey, I'm his mother. I'll figure it out." She's dropping some serious love bombs, vowing that she'll always be by Riley's side, even if everyone gets tired of her laid-back Netflix and chill attitude. Zara's jaws practically drop hearing all this mum's cute talk about her son, but Iris asks, "Is Riley driving Syrah crazy with his laziness?" and they start to laugh. And Zera replies, "No, not under my supervision." Then, out of nowhere, Iris asks Zera for help moving some things to another room. And Zera replies, "Of course." So they go to this closet, and Iris taps on it, asking if Riley is disappearing in there again. The closet doors open, and there is Riley, caught in the act by his own mother. What a strange situation. He starts babbling about needing alone time, but his mom isn't buying it. She knows her son well. He talks about how everyone was worried when he went missing, thinking the boogeyman got him or something. Then the mother says, "It's because of the tournament, right?" And Riley just nods like a doll. The mother is curious to know why he is in a cold sweat because of a sword. And Riley comments, "Oh yeah, swords aren't really my thing." But then his mother drops the bomb. She's going to the tournament with him, without worrying about the butts or the butts. Meanwhile, Ian is outside, paying attention to the carriage as if it were the Queen's carriage. He is all concerned with every little detail. His mother questions him, "Did you forget something, dear?" And old Ian is swearing up and down that they've got it covered. Then he asks, "Should we bring some extra help?" Sarah says, "No, we're fine." Ian is losing his mind because, Riley is royalty and all, but Sarah is acting like they're about to storm the castle. Finny Paget appears, asking if they are falling on the road. The mother responds, "Yes," and Ian just gives the guy a nod. Count Finn starts to get all sentimental, practically getting emotional because he doesn't want to leave his son's side. But the mother declares, "We agreed to this. No long goodbyes, dear." She even kind of calls him out, asking if he's jealous. Finn just makes an excuse about going with Riley being the only way he can participate in the tournament. Classic dad move, right? So my lady is giving her man a glare and reminding him that they agreed to keep the vibes positive. She says, "Give it time, honey, that's my advice." Count Ipleta and the team say goodbye. Then the Count gets all serious, dropping the bombshell that he has the safety of his son and his wife under absolute control. He says, if something happens to them, heads will roll. He swears with his feet together that he will protect them with his last breath. Zera makes her own promise, and then it's time to say goodbye. Lady Iris smiles from the carriage, while the young prince gives his father an icy glare. On the way, the mother starts shouting Sololo. She's explaining how she hasn't said that word in years and is excited to use it again. And Riley wonders, what's with that word? His mother realizes that this is his first time leaving the farm, so she tells him everything. Sololo is the family farm, baby, and Pijet. And Riley comments, "Wait, does she have a name?" Mom is all proud, talking about how her dad built the place so it has his name all over it. Miss Iris turns to Zera, asking where she is from in Solia. Zera responds, "To the right. The sun is on the right side of the mansion, and there is a sun on the left and another in front." Zera tells Riley that the only thing north of Solia is the Sololo mansion and a large wall to keep the bad guys out. And Riley comments, Cool. How big is Solia?" Zera responds, "Huge. It's like an entire kingdom squeezed into one city." Zolia clicks to Riley, as if it's something her teacher mentioned, and he thinks, "Oh yeah, something about sodas?" When he hears this, he gets excited. Zera explains that it is a carbonated drink that tickles the taste buds, especially with ice. And Riley declares in his thoughts, "Sounds divine," and begins to interrogate her for details. Poor Zera is blushing like a tomato. She tells him it's sweet like wine, but it won't get you drunk, and remind him that he called her the nectar of the gods. And he asks, "But what about the color?" But Riley can't hold back anymore. He's hanging from the ceiling, shouting the name of the drink, Coca-Cola. The women in the carriage are asking each other, "Man, are you okay?" Riley doesn't even respond, just asks if they have Coke in Solia, and the waitress asks, "Do you mean non-alcoholic wine?" The mother intervenes, asking if Zera has been giving Riley drinking lessons, and Zera questions him, "Riley, really?" Ian enters the scene, clarifying that Coca-Cola is the real thing. Even children drink it. Riley is excited because if they have Coke in Solia, he's in. So this has been Riley's dream for a solid 19 years, right? The carriage is flying. No time to waste. And Zera declares, "Hey, it's an ambush." She jumps out of the carriage and asks Ian who the hell attacked them. And Ian yells, "Those goblins over there?" And let me tell you, these elves look like they haven't seen a shower in ages. Green, ragged, with elf ears and human faces, wielding clubs and wooden shields. And Riley, in her thoughts, comments, "If these are goblins, Zera will finish them off in 3 seconds. Zera is shouting for everyone to disperse because these goblins might try to surround the carriage. She tells Ong to put it away. Meanwhile, Riley is in a cold sweat and tells the guy to trust the maid. He's asking himself, why is Zera moving like molasses? I could finish them off in an instant with my killer moves. But all he can think about is getting his hands on a Coca-Cola. Now he's wishing he brought more reinforcement. There's blood flying everywhere, but there's still a bunch of goblins roaming around. Han is yelling at him to watch his back because he is the young master's shield. Finally, Riley has had enough and shouts that he is tired of this and is joining the fight. While he is fighting the monsters, Zera sees him and questions, "What the hell are you doing here? Get back in the carriage. It's dangerous." Riley takes the gun from her and asks why she isn't using her legs in the fight. But Zera is shouting at him to stop. During a break in the action, Riley declares, "I was the only one looking forward to a Coke today. Now that's gone. I'll never get my hands on one now." Then he turns to Zera and suggests that she draw a circle and stay in it to move better and fight longer. Meanwhile, he's slashing goblins left and right. He's yelling that if he doesn't clean them up quickly, there won't be time for a Coke break today. With a savage look in his eyes, Riley takes down the rest of the monsters with a powerful blow. Everyone is speechless. Zera and Ian are shaken to the core. The old man can't even process what just happened. And there's Riley, smiling like it's no big deal, with blood smeared across his cheeks and hands. The carriage is gone, and Hannah's asking Lady Iris if she knows her son's abilities. Mom is just petting Riley and saying she's glad he's safe and sound, heartbroken when she saw him face those goblins. Ian is still stunned, but Iris speaks softly. "SHH, keep this a secret. Don't breathe a word of it to anyone, not even the Count." Ian gave a nod. It's morning, and they finally arrived at their destination. Zera is on cloud 9. Lady Iris is feeling a little awkward with Han around, worried about sending Ian to the castle alone. But Zera says, "Relax, it's okay." Otherwise, she would have spilled all the juicy details of yesterday's trip. The waitress is preaching about respecting local customs, like getting drunk, drinking, and having fun. And Riley responds, "Yeah, sure. Sounds tempting, no." And Zera is asking, "Where should we start?" And the prince responds, "Obviously with Coca-Cola," but is quickly corrected that it will be a sweet, black, non-alcoholic wine. Zera discovers a cafe where they can find what the prince wants and escape the scorching sun at the same time. Then a random guy, looking like he's seen better days, says he saw two fangs. He's skulking in the shadows, watching Riley and his mother as if they were a pair of lottery tickets. He turns to the girl next to him, calling her Magic Tower Scorpion. She's this thin girl with ghostly skin and midnight black hair. But there's a catch: half her face is hidden by a horrible scar. She doesn't blink at the guy's nickname or orders. She just moves on. Riley is looking at a barrel like it's the Holy Grail, and he comments, "It's real. Guys, I'm swimming in Coca-Cola." He's raving about how fantastic and cold it feels, the foam tickling his throat. The prince is literally losing his mind with joy, while everyone looks at him as if he has escaped from the insane asylum. Lady Iris and Zera are dying of embarrassment. Meanwhile, a cheerful friar is ordering another round for his mother, and she is responding, "Of course, dear." While the prince is drinking another glass of Coca-Cola, Zeta is saying that he is acting like a drunken failure. Then this black-haired girl is grabbed by some people. She is screaming that she is innocent, but no one is believing her. She's asking for help, but the grabbers are talking about catching her in the act of stealing. Of course, the girl is protesting like crazy. Zeta is almost ready to step in and rescue her, furious. Then Riley says, "Wait, it's all an act." He is telling the maid to relax and not care. Riley is there, ready to dive back into his heavenly drink, while Zera wonders, "What's this whole acting thing?" Riley just shrugs, looking at his sword. Meanwhile, the drama unfolds as the actors pull the brunette girl back and forth. One of them is even smiling. The prince explains that if she needs help, he will be watching from all angles. So, Riley is totally focused on this maiden sword, right? He glances at Zera and asks her what she thinks it means. Without even giving her a chance to respond, he declares, "Hey, let's not get involved in other people's messes, okay?" They're already inside the house, and Riley strolls into the living room and finds Han there. It's pretty obvious that the old man isn't his usual self. Upon spotting the downed servant, Riley asks, "Dude, what's bothering you?" And Ian answers, "Honestly, I just want to do things my way. For example, if I had felt like it, I would have signed up for this fight." He picks up a glass and swirls it silently, then sips his drink. The next thing you know, he's telling you about his day at Solia Castle. So, Hana's at the castle gates, asking for 4 tickets to the fencing tournament. The guard asks, "Where did you get these?" And Ian replies, "Straight from Count Ipletta's house." The guard gets agitated and asks if it's legit. Ian is at a loss as to why he is being questioned, but says, "Yes, of course," and hands over the official letter with the Earl's seal. The guard takes a look, then excitedly confirms that there are 4 tickets for the competition. Han doesn't talk about the next step, so he suddenly asks for auditorium tickets. Ian falls face first into his pillow, perplexed that the tickets are for the stands, not the main event. But wait, there's more, and Ian comments, "This isn't the end." The prince tries to intervene, but is ignored. An awkward silence hangs in the air between Han and the lobby. Then, out of nowhere, someone calls out to Han, and he turns to face a tall, blonde, middle-aged guy. The guy calls Han a legendary mercenary and reminisces about the good old days. Han is all confused, trying to understand the reunion. The guy wonders if Ian is also participating in the fencing tournament. After a moment, he asks, "Looks like you haven't tied the knot yet, huh?" And Ian says he's just a humble butler on the farm. His old friend is perplexed, asking what the hell he's doing serving there. Han's heart is in his mouth, wondering if it's because of his legendary sword skills or his quick movement. With each word, Ian's face goes from confused to blurry. The blonde guy laughs, asking if he's being mistaken for the Count of Estein himself. Han is speechless, and the guy comments, "Given your age, you're most likely second." Ian diverts the subject and turns to the girl, asking about when spectator tickets will be available and how long they will have to wait. But before she can respond, he is already interrogating her about the Count's third son. After racking his brains, he finally remembers the name Raid. All these kids with their fancy second names, like Sharp Sword and Swift Sword. Then Snedder says, "We might as well remember the third prince's second nickname as well." Then Ian is crying profusely, clinging to the blanket like it's his lifeline. He's lamenting how completely embarrassing it was to make a fool of himself in front of his ex-colleague. Ian is sobbing so loudly that he's practically turning into a human fountain, and Riley declares, "Nah, I can't handle this noise anymore," and claps her hands over her ears. The old man is crying over how Snyder, the legendary mercenary hero, took pity on him, and he says, "If only Lady Araz hadn't asked me to keep yesterday's fiasco a secret. If only she had kept her mouth shut." Han's screams could break glass. He's so agitated. Everything is just too unfair in his book. Meanwhile, Riley and Ian sit at the table, waiting for Madame Iris and Zara to appear. Zara is all excited, asking how they slept. But then she sees Han's sad figure and almost chokes on her own hand. Ian's eyes are practically swollen. Riley responds sarcastically to the girl's enthusiasm like a bucket of cold water. He's just tired of it, wishing he was back home, giving his son a look as if to say, "Can you believe this mess?" Madame Iris simply starts laughing, saying that Ian has the emotional depth of a puddle. Riley throws in the towel, agreeing with her mother that Ian is sober and continues to spout the same nonsense every half hour. Ian clears his throat, trying to compose himself, and wishes everyone a tired good morning. Zara nods at him, then quickly changes the subject, addressing the young master, and the prince asks, "Where are we going today?" Zara is all excited, announcing that they are going to Ratsolia, and Riley asks, "Why now?" And the girl declares, "Because we won't get another chance." She's excited about the big tournament starting tomorrow, excited about her first tournament experience. Meanwhile, Anne is awake and alert, adding that going to Solia's bottom is not a smart move. Zero agrees, saying it's suspicious and dirty, even though it's local, and Riley comments, "No thanks, I'll pass on that adventure." And Zara says, Cool, I understand." So she dramatically volunteers to lead the charge through the city. Lady Aras gives the go-ahead, and they leave the place where they spent the night. Zara and Riley appear to have been hit by a truck. The Temple of Solia is their first stop, a place where people pray to the goddess Idnissa for healing and blessings. Lady Iris had a scare with a horrible illness once, so she's stopping by to thank the priest who treated her and to check out the town while they're at it. Riley takes a look around and decides that this sacred spot isn't much different from anywhere else. He remembers people talking about how the goddess grants the gift of prophecy. He ponders whether anyone would actually sign up to be a monk for such a job. The father gives Lady Araz a sidelong glance, then adds that her recovery has been quite a journey, but they've done it. Father Liebers throws some congratulations at her, stating that she has the goddess Ioneza wrapped around her little finger. Then, our prince's mother thanks Father Liebers, but Riley declares, "I'm gone, family," and starts to walk away. And Zara asks, "Hey, where are you going?" And the prince replies, "My mother will talk non-stop, so I decided to take a look around." And Ian comments, "I think I'll go along." Then, the old man speaks about how elegant the architecture of this temple, the Temple of Solilla, is, and Riley comments, "I remember this place from a past life. I saw a statue and thought, hey, I'm the chosen one of the Holy Sword." And just like that, his life went from zero to hero. He's there, feeling all nostalgic, remembering that moment when he met a saint and revealed the Holy Sword. Further along, near this huge statue, there is a figure wearing a white robe, and Ian asks, "Who's that?" But Riley doesn't care. It turns out to be a short girl with long purple hair. She greets the old man and the prince, acting all honored to meet someone supposedly blessed by the gods. She welcomes them as guests of the temple, and Ian greets her, saying, "What's up?" with a wave, but Riley just walks past. The old man isn't too happy with Riley's silence, muttering about how the prince should show good manners, and Riley asks, "Why bother?" Then he turns to Ian, saying, "If you want me to greet you, you should start by opening your mouth." Everyone is shocked by his insolence, and Ian in his thoughts comments, This guy has a lot of courage, but Riley is cool, thinking it's the last cookie in the package. The albinoz girl thinks he's hilarious. Then, dramatically, she takes off her hood, revealing this cat with yellow eyes. And Ian, in his thoughts, declares, "Damn, it's Santa Frisia," feeling embarrassed. The old man apologizes for not recognizing her, but Riley doesn't care, acting all indifferent, saying that the prince should greet her because she's a saint and everything. And Ian comments, "Yes, she is the Saint of Solia, the youngest of the Holy Virgins." And Riley says, "PFF, weird custom, worshipping living saints." And Ian wonders, "I'm lost. Where is this going?" Riley is mumbling to himself, not really liking this whole saint thing. In fact, he's hating it. He approaches the statue of the saint, sarcastically saying that he was chosen by the Holy Sword and tasked with overthrowing the king of demons. Then he says, "All right, give me the sword." And the saint declares, "Only a warrior chosen by the gods can wield it." And in her thoughts, she says, "You're my only hope, bro." Then Riley says, Okay, I'll take it." But inside, he asks, "What's that again?" He shakes the saint's hand, turns his back and starts to walk away. And Ian announces, "Dude, at least show her some respect." And Riley says, "Nah, the more I look at her, the less hungry I get." Zara isn't enjoying Riley's insolence, feeling a little uncomfortable with his sarcastic comments. So Riley is feeling super embarrassed by the saint's comments. He declares, "Hey, time to go. My mum's probably done talking by now." But then, out of nowhere, a woman's voice interrupts their escape plan. They turn around and see the saint approaching them, shouting for them to wait. The prince reluctantly comes back, and this girl is locking eyes with him, looking like she's trying to remember where she knows him from. Riley is sweating, thinking, "Please don't ask me to pick up some holy sword and kill a demon king." He's praying she doesn't drop that bombshell. But then, the girl yells, "Hey, bend down for a second," and asks if it's him. And all Riley hears is, "Hey, are you the one?" The prince's face is a mixture of horror and confusion. Why is a saint asking him these things? She gives him a superior look, saying that she thought so and that he seemed quite slow. And Riley asks, "Wait, you still call yourself a saint after that? Saints shouldn't be talking nonsense like that." The whole temple is shaken. Even Ian is in a cold sweat, but the girl is not shaken. She just calmly says that she is still the youngest saint in Solia and that it is natural to be proud. Riley is furious, sarcastically saying that she is a real pro at being proud. He adds that she can think whatever she wants then. The girl is shocked that he is speaking to her so casually, reminding her that she is a saint, and the prince asks, "Really?" Doubt sets in. He asks Han if he should kneel and cry, and Ian's like, "No, man, that's not it." Riley is all confused, frustrated. The saint is looking at him innocently. He apologizes, admitting that he has a problem with saints because one made him feel terrible once. The priests and Han are in a cold sweat, and Riley's like, "You know what? You do whatever you want, saint. Let's just go our separate ways." The girl holds her tunic, starting to cry. Two priests, all men, run up to her. One offers a tissue. Meanwhile, Riley is still questioning her, asking, "What's with all the crying? You started this whole mess." But the girl says, "No, bro, that's not cool. Treating a saint like that, total sacrilege." Riley doesn't care, however, ignoring his words, saying he's not religious. She snaps back, criticizing him for making her look bad after she started talking trash. Then, the prince spills the beans, admitting that he didn't want to hit the temple in the first place. He kicks Han, but Han says, "Come on, try again." And Riley says, "Nah, family, let's get out of here." They are running away and the saint stands there, watching them dive. Soon, she starts crying because of the strangeness of it all. She's furious with the prince, like, "Really? What now?" Riley says, "Oops," as Frasia's tears start to flow. The priest tried to cheer her up, saying, "Hey, haters gonna hate, right?" But the girl said, "Wow, thanks for the pep talk," in the most sarcastic tone ever. Old Riley is trying to calm things down, saying, "Calm down, I'm just an ordinary rude guy." The girl says, "Yeah, you nailed it," before hitting him with, "Have you ever thought that about me, Dad?" The guy is shaken, radically denying it. She's like, "How could you?" throwing the ball back to him. Then he begins to claim that it is the holiest thing since sliced bread, even considering the reincarnation of the goddess herself. The other priests are like, "Dude, relax," supporting the first one. Finally, Frasier seems to calm down, saying that it's okay just thinking about that nice guy who would pray. But then, out of nowhere, one of the guys moves toward her, and she says, "No, I don't," before shouting, "Wait, is that him?" As he jumps, Han is at Riley's grill, asking what he whispered to the saint. Riley said, Let me think," remembering her asking him if he liked men. But instead, he tells Han that he was asking her what kind of snacks she liked. And Ian is clueless, but Riley says, It doesn't matter now." He tells Han that he's a pain in the ass, but a decent guy, so he'll let it slide. And then he says, "Being called a saint is not all it's cracked up to be. Lady Iris is eager to know what happened at the temple, but Riley says, nothing special. Meanwhile, Han has a dark cloud hanging over him. Zara is excited, saying they are going to the magic tower, and Riley is all ears, especially when Zara mentions that he can learn to move things with his mind. But the old man's gears begin to turn. Realizing that there has never been a magician in the Ipleta family, Zara and Iris are laughing and Riley stands there, unimpressed. As they climb up to the tower, Riley's eyes widen at the sight of it, comparing it to Big Ben. And that blue glow? It reminds him of when he destroyed those monster heads in Chapter 1. He is impressed by the tower's vibration, saying it has a different feel than Solia's left side. Then the waitress opens up, saying that if you take one step closer, you'll feel the vibe change, as if the air takes on a completely new flavor. She starts talking about mana, saying it's so pure around the tower, it practically makes you tingle. Then she says, "Hey, Prince, pull out that blue glow." And Riley says, "Yeah, I see." Zara explains, saying it's some kind of contraption in action. Riley is totally turned on, soaking up these stories of magic like a sponge. And let's talk about his past life. Dude had this epic sword, but it was a double-edged sword. You know, like be the chosen one? Heavy stuff. But here and now, Riley is totally into the magical living vibe. And he says, "No more chosen baggage, please. Magic is all about choices." Man, Riley is looking at his hand, wondering if mastering magic can take away the trauma of his past life. And Zara asks, "Do you want to try?" and drops the bomb about measuring mana levels. Riley is thinking, and Zara declares, "Dude, enjoy the moment." She's mentioning Riley's homies, Leon and Joyce, who measured their mana levels to be magic sword pros. Leon did well at 12, while Joyce missed the boat. Lady Iris gives the hint, saying that Riley has to try. Ian is simmering in the background, ready to explode. It's like he has flames coming out of his ears. He's dying for Riley to show off these skills, because in the war, Ian was the master of magic. Now he's excited to showcase Riley's talent and throw away that lazy sword tag. So everyone is in the tower, with their mouths open, and Riley wonders, is this real life? Lady Ares is in awe of space, and there are books and bottles flying everywhere, shining like crazy. And those stairs? They are literally floating. Riley is freaking out about the magical sparkles in the air and those stairs to the sky. And Zara comments, "Yes, this tower is where the hipsters hang out, and let's be honest, they all look like they're straight out of a fantasy movie." One of the tower's inhabitants, a distinguished-looking wizard with white hair and round glasses, approached the group. In a gentle voice, he inquired about the visitors' mission and, addressing the youngest of the group, informed them that not everyone was allowed to enter the magic tower. He asked them for documents to confirm their identities. After examining the papers presented by the oldest of the group, the blonde wizard recognized his origins as Ipiet. With a smile, he granted permission to explore the first floor, but warned that access to the second floor and touching objects were restricted until his authorization. While Riley, one of the group's members, was absorbed in front of an imposing magical stone, the wizard acted quickly when he realized that the young man was about to touch it. With a warning shout, he prevented Riley from making a serious mistake. The boy apologized, explaining his curiosity by the intense blue color of the stone. After the brief interruption, the wizard explained the importance of following the rules, especially regarding the handling of magical objects. Riley, embarrassed, agreed with the wizard's words. In an attempt to better understand the environment that surrounded them, Lady Ares approached the group and politely asked the wizard for information about the tower. With a smile, the wizard introduced himself as Ferda and began to share his vast knowledge of magic. Ferda explained that there were different types of wizards, from sorcerers to alchemists, and showed visitors various magical artifacts present in the tower. He demonstrated a magic book with a glowing blue aura and a device capable of freezing water. As the group explored the wonders of the first floor, Ferda explained the rules for accessing the second floor, where apprentices practiced magic. The group was intrigued by the possibilities offered by the tower. As the prince examined a magical device, he questioned Ferda about its operation. The wizard explained that it was only necessary to concentrate mana, and the ball would respond accordingly. And one of the travelers raised a question about the safety of the device if the amount of mana was excessive. Ferda admitted that a person with such ability would be considered a prodigy and perhaps invited to study in the tower. Despite their concerns, Ferda assured the group that the safety of the devices was guaranteed, stating with a smile that the tower was not a dragon's lair, and therefore there was no reason to fear. The legend of the great wizard Astroi echoed through the walls of the tower, bringing with it memories of the Great War and the extraordinary feats he had accomplished. Ferda the Wise shared with the group the story of Astroi's defeat of a renowned mercenary hero during those tumultuous times. Despite not remembering the hero's name, Ferda reiterated the grandeur of the wizard's victory, Between the girl's laughter and Han's questions about the expectations placed on the young master, the atmosphere became tense. Riley, focused on the magical device before him, encouraged the experiment to begin. With a touch from Prince Riley, the balloon began to glow brightly, sparking anticipation among the group. Everyone watched in fascination as the light emanated from the balloon, flooding the room with its intense glow. Ian's heart nearly stopped as the light dissipated, revealing an insignificant amount of mana in the ball. Despite the disappointment, Ferda explained that this was common, but Ian was unable to accept it so easily. The prince's reaction caused a dark aura of despondency to surround him, contrasting with the previous one of anger. Even with the support of his mother and Ferda, Ian couldn't come to terms with it. His frustration reached a breaking point as he grabbed the balloon, wanting to break it into pieces. The ensuing confrontation between Han and Ferda reflected the tension in the air. While the wizard tried to contain the young prince's anger, Han insisted that something was wrong. Meanwhile, the third prince, oblivious to the drama, was distracted by thoughts about food and dinner plans in Solia. As the argument unfolded, the old man held a golden magic ball between his hands, tears streaming down his face. Sarah exchanged silent glances with Ajan, while Ferda expressed despair on her face. A moment of heavy silence hung over the group, filled with conflicting emotions and uncertainty about the future. Suddenly, a scream echoed in the room, breaking the tense silence. It was Sarah, catching Mr. Yong's attention. In a quick gesture, she pointed in the direction of Prince Raleigh, implying that he was using his magic. Han turned abruptly, convinced that the prince had transferred his power to some nearby object. In this place, where magic was so present, the transfer of power did not seem impossible. Taking advantage of the confusion, Ferda intervened and snatched the orb from the old man's hands, leaving him indignant. Han shouted a protest, blushing brightly and almost collapsing onto Sarah. Skillfully, the girl held him and suggested that it was time for them to go to dinner. Ian, however, remained unfazed, refusing to leave without further explanation. The look of disappointment directed at the prince was evident, a silent punishment for his misplaced skill. Ian pondered the nickname, Lazy Swordsman, not fully understanding its meaning. As everyone prepared to leave, Seda had to practically drag the wailing servant out. With the door closing behind them, Ferda finally relaxed. An aura of exhaustion hung over the room as the wizard swept the floor of the magic tower. He felt exhausted, unable to understand where the old man got so much energy from. Internally, Ferda grumbled about the man who seemed to touch everything. While he worked, other wizards went down to the first floor. One of them, noticing Ferda's tiredness, expressed concern. Ferda, however, was distracted by a commotion among the wizards and quickly joined them to see what was going on. Upon encountering a horror scene, Ferda was astonished. The large blue magic stone was cracked, an unusual event considering only the most powerful mages had access to it. When asked about what had happened, the man was unable to respond, leaving everyone worried about the possible consequences. Panic spread among the wizards as they debated how to find the culprit. With no evidence to support their suspicions, the green-haired wizard, visibly shaken, declared that they needed to solve the mystery before Astroy, the great wizard, found out, as his punishments were feared by everyone. Ferda was overcome with fear, his body trembling at the alarming situation. Someone in the room asked who was on duty on the first floor that day, and if there were any witnesses to what happened. One of those present approached Ferda, asking if he was on duty and if he had noticed anything suspicious. The confusion was evident, as no one had any clues about the incident with the damaged stone. Suddenly, the stone shattered into fragments, leaving the wizards horrified, especially Ferda and the green-haired wizard. A scream echoed through the tower, a woman's voice calling for Prince Raleigh. He turned to find his mother at his side, worried about his well-being. Together, mother and son walked through the city streets, hand in hand, sharing their concerns. Raleigh explained that he was disturbed by having visited a temple for the first time in his life, and by the presence of a holy maiden who had made him uncomfortable. He also withheld from his mother his visit to the tower and collecting mana in an unconventional way. Carefully, he hid his secrets, laughing as he commented to his mother that, in the end, everything turned out well. Lady Iris comforted him, mentioning that they were in good company with Han and Zera by their side. Meanwhile, Zera reassured Han and encouraged him to get himself together. Ian, still in shock, could not understand how everything had happened. His mother, observant, noticed his concern and lovingly reassured him, expressing relief at always having him by her side. Delighted by his mother's words, Raleigh remained silent, holding her hand. As they walked down the busy street, they saw the same two men who had robbed them before, probably planning their next hit. Raleigh, noticing a guy with a different appearance, dressed in white and with a red scarf around his neck, became alert, worried about the possible presence of guards nearby. Beta shared with Hamel the discovery that the subject in question was at least one member of the Earl family, news that did not please Beta at all. Watching his prey closely, he suddenly turned to the man at his side, identified as Hamel, and asked for his opinion on the situation. Beta referred to Raleigh, Lady Iris and Sarah, who stood out in the crowd. Hamel questioned whether these were the same people who had visited previously. Beta confirmed vehemently, stating that they were the same ones who ignored the attack on the young woman in that same area. With a sarcastic smile, Beta mentioned that among them there was a young man, his mother, and a maid. Noticing an old servant, Beta counted 4 in total. Hamel asked if the choice was deliberate, to which Beta happily agreed, stating that they deserved punishment for what they did. He justified the action as an act of correction, claiming that the goddess Irene would forgive them. Although Hamel had his reservations about Beta's plan, he agreed that, in theory, there should be no problems, as there were 2 aristocrats against 2 servants. However, he expressed a bad feeling. Beta responded that they were in no position to choose, pressuring Hamel to agree. Finally, Hamel consented, and Beta celebrated the decision. With a determined smile, Beta advanced through the crowd, with Hamel following silently. His target was a few steps ahead. With a look of complicity, they began a silent countdown. The villains became alert, and when Hamel approached Han, he was silently discovered. The old man reacted, hitting him in the chest with his elbow. Hamel tried to get up, but Ian intervened, quickly hitting him in the knee. The thief fell to the ground, injured. As Hamel tried to recover, the old man questioned his identity and origins. Seda watched nervously, remembering where she had seen those faces before. With caution, the group prepared to act, keeping an eye on the criminal's movement. The surname Ipiet echoed in Hamel's mind, arousing suspicions about the true identity of his targets. He nodded at the words of the man next to him, observing him with curiosity, but without the threat that Ian conveyed. The girl questioned their origin, while Beta was still shaking and covering his face. Sarah, leaning in a little, suggested that they were from Lower Solia, adding that they smelled like garbage. Beta protested, arguing that she had perfumed herself. The thief began to sniff. The commoner Sarah could have been easily deceived by the scent, but she claimed that it was also her homeland and would therefore let them live. However, he demanded that they pay for the mistake of trying to hurt his master. The servant knelt down beside Beta, who begged him not to do it, but the servant did not hesitate to step on his arm. His eyes lost their previous gentleness as he warned them to choose their target more carefully next time, as their master did not like to be disturbed. Meanwhile, Lady Iris and the third prince enjoyed sweets on sticks. Riley looked for Zeta, while the old man explained that she had gone to the bathroom and would be back soon. When asked if he also wanted to leave, Riley responded that he didn't know, explaining that he was asking because he hadn't found her as they walked away. Surprised, Ian asked again. The third prince stopped talking, distracting his mother by praising the food. Riley noticed the majestic red tent above, and everyone was mesmerized. Sada explained that the fencing competition was finally starting, an event that everyone had been looking forward to. Riley, his mother and his servants were already in the stands, along with the other spectators, all excited. The third prince inquired about the food and drink, and Zeta, the maid, assured him that everything was ready. While Riley devoured the food, Ian watched the competitors with interest. The prince asked if they were good, and the old man confirmed. Remembering that they had seen the competition program at the entrance, Riley admitted he didn't pay much attention. Ian sighed tiredly. Sarah explained that the program included 3 competitions, scheduled to end before dinner. She expressed indifference, feeling that the competitors, although excellent, were not up to Ipja's standard. Riley noticed a couple sitting next to her in the empty space around them. It seemed like there were fewer people there than before. Lady Iris also noticed this. The waitress commented that the crowd was smaller than expected. Nodding, the lady expressed surprise, expecting the place to be crowded. Sarah explained that the entry of uninvited guests was restricted here. To attend, ordinary people needed a formal invitation. As the competition was between aristocratic families, Lady Aras asked if this meant that ordinary citizens could not watch. The waitress clarified that it wasn't like that, pointing to a floating blue stone with a sphere on top. The girl explained that it was a device to track the event. Curious, the lady asked about the artifact. The maid explained that it was a device to visualize what was happening there. Riley expressed disdain, suggesting that some stupid nobleman might inadvertently embarrass himself. Surprising her, Sarah explained that this would not be possible due to the time difference. She added that the images could be cut from the transmission if necessary, controlled by the magic tower. The prince was once again fascinated by the tower, even considering that it was a different era from his past life, where everything was facilitated by magic. His mother noticed that the competition was about to begin when screams and noises came from the other side of the wall. Someone ordered them to stop shouting in the mono-room, while another demanded to know where a person had come from. On the podium, a voice warned about the son who was leaving and asked for silence. Ian found the commotion strange and asked why they were so noisy. His question disconcerted Riley, Madam, and the maid. Sarah excitedly imagined that if the young master left, he would shout for everyone to shut up. The old man explained that 2 competitors were withdrawing. one from the Boyden family and the other from the Dries family, known for their sword skills, although not as much as the Ipita. A boy in the audience raised his hand, exciting Sarah and Lady Iris. The third prince watched silently as a colorful battle unfolded before them. Ian watched the prince, wondering if he was genuinely interested. The third prince leaned back in his chair, stating that yes, he could see techniques that he had never witnessed before. Although he knew practically all the existing techniques, these new ones surprised him. Sipping his dark drink, he found it interesting, although it looked like children were playing with toys. Ian listened attentively as the third prince explained that even though it was a little strange, he had a genuine interest in it. He admitted that it was a somewhat arrogant but intriguing prospect at the same time, even though Riley called him a monkey. Sarah shrugged, suggesting that his master could even defeat goblins with ease. The old man didn't miss the chance to comment that, in this case, the young master should have participated. Riley, however, reiterated that he was lazy, leaving Anne horrified at his lack of ambition. Riley even appreciated the nickname, Wandering Swordsman, adding that it was appropriate. The old man then asked Ian if he was taking it seriously. Observing the third prince, he noticed a tired expression on his face, questioning why he hid his talents and his true personality. Ian wondered what the real reason was behind the unpleasant nickname, Wandering Swordsman. Lady Iris called the servant, suggesting that it would be good to find Riley a companion to liven up his life. She asked his opinion on the matter. The third prince even choked on his Coca-Cola. Ian and the prince were surprised, asking if she was serious. The lady smiled, assuring him that it was just a joke, but Ian noticed a thoughtful expression on her face. The prince's mother laughed, relieving the tension, while the prince himself stood up, visibly nervous. He announced he was leaving, with his mother agreeing. In the hallway, Riley muttered to himself, questioning why he was so obsessed with the idea of a wedding. Suddenly, they were interrupted by a blue-haired man and a red-haired worker. The man abruptly accused Riley of being disrespectful towards the competition participant. Ian was surprised and Riley wondered what he had said that was so offensive. The outraged man berated Riley for minimizing the contestants' efforts, demanding that he leave if he couldn't appreciate their efforts. Riley apologized with an indifference that seemed quite fake. He gestured for Ian to leave, indicating that it was time to start. The prince took Ian's arm and led him outside. While the man watched them disapprovingly, he called out to Riley, asking to wait. When the young man stopped, the man declared that Riley's apology didn't seem genuine. He argued that the prince's words lacked sincerity and questioned whether it could truly be considered an apology. Riley looked at him with an air of superiority, and the man continued to express his dissatisfaction. Tired of the situation, he exploded, proclaiming that he, Plog, the eldest son of the Orencium family, would teach a lesson on behalf of all participants. The third prince was starting to get tired of this argument. Plog insisted that if the prince was present there, he must belong to some specific clan. Pointing with his finger, he demanded that the prince reveal which clan he belonged to.